Hello, it is Throwback Thursday, April 22nd, 2021. April 22nd marks the annual observance of Earth Day, and Throwback Thursday, we're throwing it back. I remember the very first Earth Day back in 1970. I was a kid, and pollution was absolutely bonkers crazy back then. I was growing up in New York, which still has a lot of problems, but back then it was just pure craziness. Cities all over America, all over the world were crazy. I remember I had a game. We played a board game called Smog, and it actually had like the pegs on the board to be factories and commercial buildings and homes and such. And then we had like smoke plumes, like three different sizes. I remember these plastic smoke plumes with a hole in them. You would put them on the peg and they would stretch out over like 6 or 8, 2 or 4 or 6 or 8 squares on the board and cover everything next to it in smog. So if you had a house and you rolled the dice and the wind would change directions, so now you had to change, physically pivot all these plastic smog, gray, black smog pieces around, and suddenly, oh, it's going over the school, it's going over the park, it's going over the homes, like, oh, trouble. You were the mayor of the city, like, oh, you'll lose this and you'll lose that. And but if you did abatements, oh, we had abatements, oh, abate the smog, then you gained money and you gained votes or whatever it was. The whole game, smog. Can't even imagine it today, but that was what prompted the first Earth Day. The fact that pollution was crazy. It really did a lot of good back then, by the way, because in rapid succession after the first Earth Day in 1970, all kinds of environmental things sprouted up. The EPA was formed, OSHA, Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, all kinds of things started, and things have obviously gotten a lot better since then, here in the US especially. I mean, China's still a complete disaster area of pollution. But I digress. Spring ahead. Oh, by the way, and a few years later, we had the global cooling scare. What are we going to do about global cooling? Are we going to in for another ice age? Oh, we got to throw money at it and think about it. And then a few years later, oh, it's global warming. Oh, what are we going to do? Let's throw money at it. Government grants, all kinds of cronyistic BS because of whatever, people always thinking, using the weather to pay off their buddies and their donors and their special interests and whatever. And I don't think that's ever going to end. Now brilliant renaming, like the liberals always. They're just by far the best at naming, which I guess is a business lesson, because words matter. And so when you name your stuff, think about how the liberals name things, right? Pro-abortion. No, we're not pro-abortion. We're pro-choice. Oh, we're pro-choice. That just sounds so nice. And we're with the since global warming, global cooling. Well, there's all kinds of evidence to refute all of it. So let's just call it climate change. There you go. No one can refute that. Climate's always changing. It's always been changing. It's always going to change. So, cooling, warming, who cares? Now we can just call it climate change and throw money at all our donors and special interests and cronies and do what we want to do. But some good things have come out of it. We'll see what continues to happen. But I saw something that said over 1 billion people around the world take some kind of action on Earth Day in like 190 something countries around the world. So the only more popular observances, of course, are religious things, Christmas and all that kind of stuff. But Earth Day, big deal, especially now with this wacko Obama 2.0 far left radical administration in place with their Green New Deal, as if the New Deal wasn't bad enough. How, again, naming. They're naming something the New Deal. The original New Deal with FDR was destroyed the economy, elongated, extended the Depression for years, longer than it should have been. But progressives, liberals think, oh, it's fantastic. What a great expansion of government trampling into people's lives. So they think the New Deal is actually something good. And I was taught that as a kid growing up in liberal New York. Oh, the New Deal was great. Government overreached into this and that and this and that. And isn't that great? And it was only till I became an adult and realized, wait a minute. Government reaching into all kinds of things it doesn't belong in? No, not good. But millions of progressives and liberals still brainwashed to believe New Deal was good, so they named this one Green New Deal, because green, oh, how can you argue against green? Saving the earth. Who's going to argue with that? We all live on Earth. We want to save the earth. So it's a Green New Deal, which just means, again, let's throw money at all of our cronies and donors and special interests and anybody we want, because now they're calling everything is about the Green New Deal. Everything's about the environment. Everything's about infrastructure. I mean, the naming is fantastic. Let's call it infrastructure. If we called it Wacko Liberal Cronyism Act, obviously people would be against it. Call it infrastructure. Oh, yeah, we all want to improve the infrastructure. That just makes sense. Anyway. Oh, a little bit of a rant here on Earth Day 2021. 51-year anniversary of the launching of Earth Day that I remember, throwing it back here on Throwback Thursday. Those were the days, different days back then, a lot more innocence. People actually believing the government could actually do some good for some people. It's been 50 years more of seeing that, no, that's definitely not the case. And yet there's still people that think, or maybe just wish, that somehow government could ever do some good. It is what it is. Thanks for being here today. I will catch you tomorrow on Foundation Friday. Over and out. Bye-bye.